Hi, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week. Let's go ahead and jump into those questions. Bill, what do we have?
Our first one today comes from Alex Lindsay in Nevada, California. I have a fun toy to show. Ooh, please.
So I'm testing this, and I thought people would enjoy it. We'll talk or show more about this, as we go forward. But this is a Voyage. It's a USB ambisonic mic. This is a second order ambisonic mic. And what's kind of cool about it is that it just has an app that comes with it that just, you just plug this in via USB-C. The phone powers the mic and also records 8 channels for you to then process later as ambisonic. So anyway, I thought I'd show it. A friend of mine is lending it to me, so it's not Voyage didn't send it to me, but a friend of mine sent it to me. So we're gonna play with this a little bit. Already, I feel like I can hear the difference. so it's pretty cool. Apple has shown some behind the scenes where they're using the bigger version of this, which is the Dante version, which, someday. It looks pretty slick. So we'll show it a little bit more, but I just thought it just showed up and I thought I'd show it off and show what it does. I tested it with the phone. I haven't started processing with it yet, but I'll probably record some over the weekend. So maybe next Wednesday I'll show something with it actually working.
Nice.
Next question.
Next one comes to us from Andy Kokendorfer in Vieira, Florida. And Andy wonders, what are the best room sound practices when having to use a meeting Owl 4 Plus with beamforming mics around the codec? Participants are seated in a U-shaped table surrounding the meeting owl.
Go ahead, Alex.
I haven't used this particular product, but we all are very familiar with how bad a lot of these conference rooms sound. And of course, if you're using these type of beamforming mics, it's probably because you're trying to improve the audio of the room. They have a lot of technology in it, but no matter how much DSP processing and fancy technology you throw at this stuff, all this stuff can be improved additionally by improving the acoustics of the room. So anything you can do, for example, and if you can't install anything permanently like acoustic absorption on the walls or start drilling holes, you may want to think about something, if it's temporary, for example, to get some pipe and drape and get some heavy moving blankets you can use. Like on the cheaper side of things, like 100-pound moving blankets. You can also use those thick velvet theater curtains, those full curtains. Those can just help absorb some of that stuff and get rid of those first reflections.
I think the challenge really is a lot of times you're doing this in a conference room and the conference room still has to look nice. And I think that, that's usually what we really kind of run into. What we find the best ones that I worked in one facility that had, not the one you would expect, you'd think that would pay attention to this, but a different one. And they in their conference room, the walls are actually soft. So they're about 3 inches deep. And they have, it took me a little while. I kind of shine when I touch them, you realize, I can't lean on that. Because it's just and it's basically a kind of a neoprene something or other that goes across the front of it. And then behind it, between the studs, you basically have your typical absorption that goes up up between the studs that's all the way up. And then in front of that, it has this kind of smooth, what looks like a wall, looked like a dark gray wall that was there. It's the best sounding conference room I've ever seen, and it looked really nice. And that's the hard part. I did ask them, I said, how often do you have to fix the wall? And they said, about once a year. So about once a year they have to replace it. Just people lean on it or someone sticks something in it or something. Someone thinks it's a wall and it's not really a wall. But they said it's not, they said after the first 2 or 3 times it got easier to do. And we have little signs that tell you when you walk in, don't touch the wall. But they said that limitation still left them with something that just, for conferences with mics, boundary mics or other mics that are in the room, it was dramatic. Like, it's not like a kind of a subtle change. It made it totally usable especially when you mix beamforming technology with a room that actually is designed for audio. They said it sounded like a studio, and I have never been in a remote with them on that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, go ahead, Ronnie.
I was to say you have to use more than one microphone, but there is a specialist in room treatment, etc. that has a nice YouTube channel. I'll see if I find a link and put it in the chat. His statement is like, make the room sound good without any equipment or microphones. Only when the room sounds good, when you are sitting around the tables and talking to each other, you will have a chance of getting the microphone to sound good as well. So that has kind of been our learning sentence every time we are rigging a new room. If we can make it sound good when we're just sitting there and talking to each other, everything will work. Unless it does, we're kind of just saying to the client, this will not be a good experience.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate a couple of phrases that I say quite often. Work with physics, you can't beat physics, and also garbage in, garbage out. Yeah,
it's just so important, and I think that this is something that companies need to really think about hard when they're building nearly all the conference rooms that we see out there are always driven by what it looks like, because that's what people see. They see the drawings, right? And it's just so important to think about how they sound nowadays, because you have so many remote participants coming into those conferences. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, everything that everyone said is 1,000% correct. I would just say, if you don't know what you're listening for and you're attempting to try and go and do this, go into your car and clap your hands. That's what you want it to sound like in your office. If your car is dead, it's just, they all are. That's the place. So if you need some kind of a reference, that's what I would do.
Next question.
Jeff Cohen in Miami Beach, Florida comes up next, and he says, favorite voice processing tricks or plugins for radio imaging style bumpers and or stingers.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about those really, well, to me, like annoying, like channel IDs.
Annoying is a good word.
Channel idents for radio stations where it's like an announcer, and then they say the radio station ID over and over and over again. What I would say to that is, like, first start off with if your goal is something that's fun and exciting, start with an edit that is fun and exciting. Just adding effects over random VO splashed over a timeline will not make it fun and exciting. Start with a fun performance first of all, then a fun edit. Then add the sprinkle of processing and effects afterwards. For stuff like this, my go-to is good old Sound Toys. It's super, super reliable go-to plugins to have very nice character voice effects, and just go through the presets through them to get inspiration for stuff. Like the little altar boy is amazing. Every single one of these, Echo Boy, Super Plate, Crystallizer is also a nice fun one. I'd go ahead and get the full Sound Toys package at $500 US. A single project will pay for itself, and it will pay for itself over and over and over again. Another thing you might want to try is perhaps go ahead and play with some guitar pedal effects. If you want to do it in software, of course you can do it in hardware, but if you want to play with software, the Guitar 3 package from Waves is a nice starting point. They have it's not the best of the best, but there's so much variety in this one package, and it's shocker, Waves is on sale for $34.99.
No way! Really? How rare?
Go ahead and get it. $35 US. It'll pay for itself over and over again. Another one is Waves H Delay, another fun plugin. You can do a lot of fun effects there. Essentially, what I would play around is with modulation, maybe some phasing, some chorus, and some pitch effects. That's what I would play with. But again, start with a fun recording, fun performances, and fun edit. Add the effects afterwards, just as the cherry on top.
Go ahead, Alex.
Everything Mickey said, but I'll give you one specific example for processing. If you want to look for a compressor, it's really hard to go wrong with a classic Opto-style compressor like an LA2A. And of course, Universal Audio has their own officially branded Teletronics LA2A, which is a very faithful recreation. But even Pro Tools, their stock plugins, and a lot of DAWs have stock plugins, and they will have some kind of recreation of the LA2A compressor that'll help you thicken up that vocal.
Good, Bill.
And if you want an idea of what you're going for, try to go online and look for drag strip promos from the 70s and 80s and 90s. There was never a category that had more processing on it because almost every major market had a drag strip somewhere, and they used to just scream at you with these spots. And all the processing they had in the station was put on most of those things. They're fun to listen to. So go back and look for drag strip promo.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I would say that definitely the Sound Toys, there's not a project that I do that doesn't have all of that stuff on it. So that is absolutely the best. I would just say that be thoughtful and remember that when you're sending something, a vocal or whatever, to effects, right, any kind of EQ or just like improper acoustic energetic balance in that's going to your effects as well. So make sure that you are actually like carving out and high passing and getting rid of essentially potential garbage and dead weight that's then going to go into an effect and make it way longer and way bigger, because you're already your whole question is about how do you get over this threshold that already kind of has a limit on it, right? And the only way to do that in mixing in any kind of audio application is by making your program material efficient for a speaker to play it, a car speaker or whatever it is. So that's really what your job is, right? So.
Next question.
Next question comes from Samarin Husledge in Durham, North Carolina. Apple just introduced the M3 Ultra with a new Mac Studio in either M4 Max or the new chip. What are the panel's thoughts?
Go ahead, Ronnie.
I think the new ones that I actually found the webpage for at a Norwegian retailer yesterday while you were at the other show. I think the M4 Max are getting increased in price so much that is kind of thinking of going with the Pro instead. But the M4 that I have on my Mac Mini, just thinking of having that in a laptop is mind-blowing. The power is amazing, and what we have to see is how for this type of laptop, the MacBook Air, we'll have to see how much cooling it can get and if it's possible to use it for streaming. If that is an option, I wouldn't hesitate to buy a bunch of them. So that's my take on the MacBook Airs, at least.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I have an M3 Max MacBook Pro, and it's just so insanely fast. These computers are getting so incredibly powerful. It's really, I mean, this is so strong that I'm just fully native as far as any processing I'm doing. I'm not doing any kind of like an HDX cards or anything in my Pro Tools rig. So to me, this is getting so incredibly powerful that like these machines can do 200% the handling they could do 10 years ago. It's really insane, and it's really changed my entire approach to how I work, and I have the old one. So they're only getting faster and stronger, and this stuff it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I could only guess that they had problems doing that end-to-end thing that is required for the Ultra, or being able to do that at scale in the time constraint, because of M3 Ultra or M4 was kind of a different and an interesting kind of sideways thought. My immediate thought when I looked at the website was they doubled the cooling. Just to give you an idea of the I/O, like they doubled the cooling, they doubled the number of fans, and it is easily. I don't know, what would you say, maybe 40% of the volume of the case is purely just airflow. So yeah, that by itself is pretty exciting. And I love my $7,000 computer. And I'm probably not going to upgrade, at least for the mobile one. But yeah, the M3 Max is amazing.
The Ultra supports up to 8 external displays. I don't know what resolution, but 8 external displays.
Probably
coming.
All the resolutions.
Yeah, I'd be very curious about what that, what they mean by that resolution. But it is, it ships with. I just want to point out that I had to write a 3-page paper at ILM to persuade them to give me 64 megs, not gigs, megs of RAM to go from 128 to 192 during Star Wars, because it would speed up my rendering in electric image. This ships with 96 gigabytes of RAM. 96 is that is the base, the base version. I'm sorry. So I do agree that I think the issue is they probably couldn't get the M4 working yet. Probably we'll have to wait for some time for that to put it together. But 28 core CPU, 60 core GPU, 32 core neural engine. That's a lot of power, in one little box that's $4,000 with 96 gigs of RAM. It's for photogrammetry, for 3D, for, the heavy lifting, for a lot of zoom. If you wanted a bunch of zoom outputs, although I'd still be thinking about the Pro because of all the extra I/O. I will say that I chose to go ahead and buy a Pro instead of the Air a couple weeks ago, knowing that the Air was probably coming, mostly because what we were buying the Pro for was to make sure that the mic worked really well. And it still looks like the MacBook Pro has a better mic and more I/O. And so those two things had us still lean over and not feel like we needed to go there. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I would just say also just remember that the RAM that you're buying now, when you're seeing, your 96, I have 48 gigs of RAM in my laptop, and this thing has never, it just has never even hiccuped or coughed. I am running huge sessions, and this unified RAM it runs really differently than old architectures, and so I would just kind of take a look at that because it's really, really powerful. And especially if you're getting machines that have, if you have 96 gigs of RAM, the horsepower, I've never seen, in just printing and breakdown of processing of how fast, I can see where programs cannot actually work as fast as my computer is. Because it's just going, and this program is going to just take this certain amount of time because it can't keep up to the speed of the computer. It's amazing.
If you really want to max it out, you can get an 80-core GPU, 512 gigs of RAM as a unified memory is what they call it, 16 terabyte SSD built in, and it will set you back $14,099 before tax. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, they had to close the gap between this one and, and the full, cheese grater modern version, I guess. I was reminded when we were talking about photogrammetry, just, for scale here, my M4 Mini was at least the first time I had been able to break Alex's, Widowmaker set of the the raw pictures in India, which was 130 pictures? And that was the M4 Mini.
200 and some, I think. 250.
That's nuts.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, to me, the interesting thing is what Jason just pointed out in terms of airflow and dual fans. I wonder what the sound profile of the unit is. And I know somebody will certainly measure dBs and how much the idling machine and the machine under load puts out. But that's a lot of heat to dissipate. So it's just something I'm curious about now.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing for an M4. The Air is $999. So I'm assuming that they already took into account things that were happening in politics right now. So the fact that it's still $999 is a pretty good deal. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael's up next, and Douglas wonders, has anyone had positive experiences with Windows on ARM devices in production?
No. Yes, we've tried them. No, it has not been a good experience. All right, next question.
Next question comes from Francis Fry in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Which USB mic do you recommend for podcast guests who are connecting to a MacBook Pro from a hotel room?
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, fallen in love with the MV series from Shure, which is shown here. We tend to use the MV7 series and MV7 Plus series is also the newest one. And what makes this so interesting, these microphones, let me see if I can get some light on this one, is that it has a mini jack for your headphones as well as an XLR output if you are able to use it on a sound card. Those microphones are dynamic, so it will naturally dampen everything of the noise you have in the room, reflections, etc. Maybe even kids playing outside your hotel room. And these microphones are kind of cheap, given the things you're getting with it, and the performance is pretty good. And it's stable, and you have a accompanying software where you can adjust your settings. And for a kit that you send out, you can preset all those settings, and when the client is plugging it into the laptop, all the settings will be stored in the microphone. You don't need to have the software installed on that remote machine as well. So we tend to send them out where we need to, and I know there is some people loving the MV6, which also comes in a kit with a table stand and everything you need to be able to connect it, and it's around half the price, maybe a little bit below the half price.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ronnie. The MV7 Plus is a dynamic microphone which has a relatively tight pickup pattern, which means it's really great at off-axis rejection. The MV7 Plus includes an XLR output on it, so when you need to incorporate the mic, or when you need to do something a little more complex, you can plug the mic into like a mixing console through the XLR output. But if you only need the USB connection and don't need the flexibility of XLR, you can get the MV6, which is significantly more affordable than the MV7 Plus, but it does not have that XLR output. For when I travel for mounting the microphone, for rigging up the microphone, I carry a bunch of these flexi mounts by Duncan Systems. It's really versatile because you can just clamp it anywhere and onto a table, and you can extend it or make it shorter just by adding or removing a bunch of the sections. Very flexible system. I not only use it to mount microphones, but also lights and sometimes like camera as well, like a small camera. It's really handy. It's super lightweight, very compact to travel with. So I just carry like 3 or 4 of them around.
Good, Bill.
For me, the key is what mic technique can I expect out of the guest there? You know, we're moving to an era where people are doing this solo from hotel rooms, and if they know how to handle a microphone, then these mics are fabulous, a fixed position mic. I have been in circumstances where somebody doesn't know how to handle a microphone, and they do the traditional, I'm talking here, and I'm talking there, and I'm talking here, and they're all over the place, and it's very difficult to get good sound out of that kind of circumstance. So I often try to switch to a headset mic or something that's going to maintain a fixed distance between their lips and the mic element to avoid all of that back and forth. So just understand who you're dealing with and kind of go for a mic that helps them succeed.
Yeah, and in this case, I'm using what you have here. This is what I have here as an SM7B to kind of get the sizes. So this is the SM7B that I'm talking into here. This is the MV7, so a little bit stouter than the SM7B. As was said, this is the USB-C on the back end. The older ones had USB micros, which was a disaster. But this is the new one. So this is the MV7 Plus is the new one here. And this one has, and then this is the we're arming up for the Michael Krasny show as you know, figuring out what we're sending out. So I bought a bunch of these to start to figure it out. So the MV6 is here. So one thing to look at is that it is a little less intimidating than the MV7, a little bit smaller. It is USB-C only, which makes it a little more efficient. It also depends on whether you're going live or not. If you're not doing live for podcasts, it doesn't really matter. But if you are doing live, the noise reduction that's built into the MV7 Plus is not in the MV6. So you have to, there's a little bit, you get a little less from that. I think if you're doing post-processing, it's not going to matter. But the MV6 is half the cost. And so it is something that, we're really considering trying to go to the MV6 because somewhere in the future, we'd like to just send someone a mic and let them keep it and serve the whole world so that they don't have to sound bad for all the other shows that they're on. But right now we try to get them back. And this is a little less of a commitment than the MV7 Plus. Next question.
Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana is up next. What are some recent mic innovations that actually became a part of your workflow? And what do you think of DPA's condenser mic promises for NAB? And he's got a link to a TV Technology Mag article.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, specifically regarding the DPA Core Plus technology, I think the Core line of microphones, when they released that, when was that? Like 7, 8, 9 years ago. was really like game changing. Like they negated the need that of what other lavalier microphone manufacturers still do, wherein you have a black dot and a red dot versions of the microphone, which has attenuation on it, essentially just a resistor in line to bring down the level, because the capsule itself is able to reproduce higher SPL signals without much distortion unless you go really loud. I'm really curious about the Core Plus. Like how much? Like, is it really that as big a leap as the standard DPA mics compared to the Core, or is it just a smaller difference? I'm really curious to hear that. And for my use case, I rarely need, like, say, to go to the attenuated microphones. Most of my lavalier microphones are Sanken COS 11s, and I have a couple of other brands as well, but most of my mics are just standard black dot Sanken COS 11s. I do have a couple of red dots that are attenuated, and I rarely have to break those out. I'm curious, like, say, especially from folks like Craig Kadoki, and I'm curious, like, how much use does he have for microphones that can capture higher SPL with the types of shows that he does, like opera and theater.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, as microphones, I think Mickey covered most of it. What we are really impressed of is the series of products from Sennheiser's, the EWD, which is taking over. This is the digital series, and this is the kind of, if you call it, base model. They also have a EWDX, which is the Pro model, and that comes in up to 4 receivers per unit, and it also includes Dante, if you would like Dante. But what makes these microphones or wireless technology so compelling for us on the floor, especially for event production, is the fact that they have this app which we can either run on phones or iPads, and you can actually just have a iPad on beside your mixer and have full control over battery level, frequency. You can even sync the microphones from your phone after you change frequency, etc. And you have full control over everything. The only thing is that the app is kind of the format and how they are formatting the homepage of the app could be better, so they could use the real estate on the display a little bit more efficiently. The battery levels, for instance, is, if Sennheiser is listening to this, the battery levels are too small. They shouldn't be dimmed down. They should be really in your face. And you can do this both with EWD and EWDX, which is the more professional series. The EWX also have on all the transmitters has memory ink, or even if they are turned off, they still display the channel, the number of microphone, etc. So it's easy to ID when you just pick it up from the drawer and are going to send it out on stage. So these type of technologies is something that I would like to see more of. So they are catering both to the semi-professional type of market, and they also have this new technology with a lot of vendors going into, which is the WMAS, which is the new digital, really, really high capacity channel utilization format that both Shure sound devices and Sennheiser are putting products out in the world now. So that's cool.
Next question.
Next one comes to us from Liberty White. On a plane, literally, she notes, our Women in AI Futures Summit is a week away. I just realized we don't have an event app where people can connect in advance. Suggestions. Attendees' engagement before and during is the priority.
Good, Bill.
For trade shows, one thing that I really miss when I don't have it. In the past, I know people who are going to the trade show, and we'd all agree on something, whether it was Slack or WhatsApp or Discord or something, but we would kind of form a temporary community just for that trade show. And it was always such a joy to be able to get messages saying, hey, we're all going to lunch and we're going to this place, or we're all going to go meet up at this place between these sessions. And so I don't think you need to do anything very complicated complicated, but you could be the person, Liberty, to say, hey, if everybody wants to chat, here's a locus on the web where we can all leave messages. And I think text is actually better for this because people are so busy during conferences that they're not going to really get live connection. But to have a place where all your tribe's data for that event is consolidated, brilliant thing and very useful.
Go ahead, Jason.
I'm not sure what the scope of it is and what the limits are, but this seems like a great opportunity if you're going to be doing stuff like sharing pictures and experiences for the Apple Invites app that's brand new and I've really never had a chance to play around with it.
Yeah, I think that after all these years of trying to figure all of these different things out, right now what I would say is Discord. And I wouldn't look at it as something as temporary. I would look at it as every time you do an event, it's an opportunity for you to build your community. We started Discord, and I probably wouldn't make it as complicated as the one we made. But we have over 2,000 people in Discord now that are interacting, and a lot of them are interacting fairly regularly. And so I think that a lot of music artists are using Discord right now for their community. It seems to be the community app. It went from being the gaming app and all kinds of other things to kind of building to a community app where a lot of communities build their things no matter what they're interested in. I would keep it simple, at least to start. Well, we kept it fairly simple, and then we just keep adding as we needed, and we probably added more than we needed. But it is it's a really powerful app as far as it's very deep, so you have to kind of think about how you want to put it together. Contrary to how other people use Discord, I find that the Discord communities that don't use any bots are the most pleasurable to be in. So I tend to, I'm in a bunch of different Discords. Some of them use bots heavily. Some of them don't use it, for little service things and put things in. And I've just found that the ones that are little to no bots are the ones that I go to the most, because they just don't get junked up with automatic things. So it really needs to feel personal every time someone posts something. But I spend a lot of time in Discord. I think that a lot of other people spend a lot of time in Discord. I think people thought of it as just for the kids, but I mean, there's some communities, there's retirement communities that are in Discord now. There are all kinds of other communities that are, I think our average age is not 24, so I think that's probably the best platform right now to build communities at the moment. Next question.
Next question comes to us from Paul Kovacs in Elkhart, Indiana. The new MacBook Air is out, and looks like they don't put in the same high-quality mics that they used in the MacBook Pro, the M4 MacBook Pro specifically, but added some software enhancements to them to get them closer to the audio quality for video conferencing. Panel thoughts?
Mickey?
Yeah, I can certainly tell the difference. I have both a MacBook Pro and also a MacBook Air. I can certainly tell the difference between the two, and I think the MacBook Pro has more microphones to do both beamforming and also to help with noise suppression inside the machine itself. I think though, while the microphones on these laptops are certainly stellar for laptop microphones, so they are still laptop microphones and sound like laptop microphones. They wouldn't compare to even a cheap SM58 that's placed appropriately or used properly. I'd still go with a real microphone than something that's just built into a computer.
Good, Chris.
Yeah, it's the Pro. It's the Pro version. That's literally what the device is. It's got the better everything on it. And I would say, for me, I only buy Pro. Anything that I buy from Apple, I only get the Pro version because I hold anything that I get, I use for 10 years. Right? I use it until it literally turns to dust. I want to put as much money into my user experience and just the efficiency of my complete workflow for the next decade. So you can't upgrade these things later. It's really, really important to try and foresee what you're going to need to grow into. So you always kind of, especially if you're in a real tech, if you're just on the internet and you're scrolling, you get the baseline thing and it's going to be really, really fast at that and great. But if you're actually doing things that need real handling and you really rely on it to deliver a deliverable, there's not really a contest at all. And I'll say even just the speakers in the MacBook Pros, I mean, they sound incredibly good. I was really blown away with this machine. So.
Go, Jason.
Yeah, I'm with Chris. I've never personally bought a MacBook Air, I guess maybe 2010 or something. But last year, I bought my girlfriend the 15-inch Air before she went to law school. And I was really jealous because they're really, really light. And, they don't have the physical capacity. They're not kidding when they say every 1/10 of a millimeter counts. And they may very well not have the space to do the same mic voodoo that they do in the Pro.
I think I definitely agree. I mean, one of the reasons we did get the MacBook Pro for Michael Krasny's show was specifically for the mics, and we're not planning to use them. We're still going to give him a mic to use, probably one of the two that I just showed you when he's on the road. But the reason that we're going down that path is to make sure that if something went wrong or if the mic didn't work or whatever, that there was something that was recoverable. So it's not, when you think of like the PACE, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency, it's somewhere between alternate and emergency. It's not the primary one that we would want to use, but it is something that we want to make sure that it's valid enough to do better than what we normally see day to day on broadcast television. Next question.
Aaron Husledge of Durham, North Carolina says, has anyone used the WHEP or WHEP protocols for streaming?
I haven't used them yet. We've played with them a little bit. I think that also I would recommend bringing that question up again on Friday. Jonas and many of our other tech-heavy folks are here on Fridays, and so I would bring that question up there. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, just to add, with Jonas, with working with Jonas in the past, they have used WHEP and WHEP for low latency transport of things like multi-views and production monitoring solutions, not for the actual transmission that goes out to the audience, but for internal production use.
Go ahead, Ronnie. I'm sorry, next question. I threw it to Ronnie.
Jack Cannon. Jack Cannon in Phoenix, Arizona up next. Is there any reason why I shouldn't use the MixAssist plugin or on the MixPre 6.2 during a live stream with two mics and or speakers?
Go ahead, Ronnie.
I haven't used the MixAssist plugin. We tend to use the noise assist all the time during live stream. And for those that are thinking of getting it, it has a cost of $99 and will definitely help you kind of auto mix everything. It's still not a type of auto mixer. It's still good help to separate all the different channels. If you're just mixing two channels, I think I might just use the normal faders and do some screwing and ride the faders a little bit more. If it were more channels you had to clean up during the live stream, maybe I would be thinking about adding the MixAssist.
Good, Mickey.
Yeah, for me, if it's just two channels, in situations wherein you have a relatively high noise floor, either in one channel or both channels, like if your environment is relatively noisy, there is a much higher chance that you would hear the switching between the two microphones as the auto mix pots channels down and back up, because you only have two channels of noise floor to average between. As opposed to like in situations where you have more channels, your base level noise floor, even with those channels attenuated down, would still average out to something more similar to each other. But with just two microphones, the difference of the noise floors might be so drastic depending on where the presenter is placed or how the microphone is mounted or concealed or placed. Or even like if they're using two different types of microphones, a lavalier and the other one's using a handheld, the noise floors between those two channels could vary drastically. So only having two channels to fade up and down between would give you could give you an audible shift in the background noise of your production. And I just want to add as well, like a mixpre for a broadcast, you don't have even the most basic tools that are required for a nice sounding broadcast. You don't have EQ aside from a high pass filter. You have no dynamics control aside from a limiter, and slamming your microphones against a limiter constantly does not sound pleasing. And to get to a level that is typically expected of a web broadcast, a live stream. You need a lot of dynamic range compression to get that loud, and you don't want to rely on just a limiter for that.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, and I also I feel that the Sound Devices MixAssist is more like a auto gator as compared to, for instance, a Dugan Automix, which is gain sharing. So I think Mickey is onto something here. It will be you will hear when the mics are being gated out and in, and that is not something that is cozy, as we say in Norway, to listen to.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I'd say that MixAssist is not just simply a gate. It certainly includes algorithms that monitor the noise floor and also the make sure that it's tracking or filters out uses filtering in the detection algorithm to detect for voice. So it's not just a gate, but again, you're only switching between two microphones instead of having multiple sources to mix from. And plus one on what Ronnie said, like faders, just ride the faders. It's 2 faders. You can do it.
I think some of the challenges sometimes when we're working on these things is that the what we're chasing down is that we're trying to do a live stream with ourselves. We can't ride the faders. So I think that's the only time you'd think about it is if you're. I mean, I know that Jack does a lot of stuff that's in the field, and so he may be in the live stream with the person and being able to have something kind of take care of it for him while he's talking to them. The thing you want to be careful of is if you're doing a podcast or doing a live stream and you're on the live stream, we always recommend having someone there to help you, but it doesn't always happen. We all know that there are issues. So at that point, and the problem is trying to ride faders while you're trying to talk creates what we would call a lot of commas. Like you're what I just did there, trying to think because you're doing something else while you're trying to do the main thing. The challenge is really setting up a system that allows you to be present so that you can be in the conversation, because the conversation is the most important. So I can see, having something that's very compact like a mixpre 6, having auto mix on it to make it work. I don't think that there's anything that's going to be. I don't think there's anything bad with it. You just have to make sure the settings are set up. But I think that in that environment, I can see why you might want to use it there instead of trying to run faders. Again, if you can find someone to help you with it, it's always better. But if you can't, I think that you could probably have MixAssist do that for you. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, in situations like that, you really have to, a lot of the work has to be moved instead of during the broadcast. You move a lot of the work over to pre-prod. Get a soundproof studio or build a soundproof studio, treat that room.
But I think the challenge is Jack does a lot of stuff outside. I don't know if he's doing that from here, but he's not in a soundproof. I mean, he's in a pretty. Jack, you can let us know in the chat if you look at him. But
yeah, and in those situations,
locations.
Then like I would say, the production has to accommodate what their technical limitations are. Like, if you are mixing it yourself and you're also someone on the panel or someone on camera, then don't do it outside. Make decisions. The production has to make decisions that should accommodate what they can get done realistically to produce a good product. That means, hey, don't do it outside. Do it in a soundproof studio. Set it up so that you don't even. It's just 2 channels. You don't even have to have. If your environment is sounding good, your system is sounding good, you do not need auto mix for just 2 channels. Just keep both mics live. Push the decision making ahead instead of having to do it in the production, and let the production make decisions to accommodate what they can do.
You good, Ronnie?
Yeah, if I had to choose between MixAssist and Noise Assist, I would definitely in an outdoor situation or scenario, I would use Noise Assist before I was thinking of using MixAssist. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there any limitations on using both Noise Assist and MixAssist at the same time?
I don't know. I have to admit.
No, you can run them at the same time, assuming you have, of course, the licenses that's required. And if you need 2 channels of Noise Assist, you have to get the license for 2 channels of Noise Assist.
Next question.
Next one comes to us from David Arsenault in Bonaventure, Quebec, Canada. I now have the Yamaha DM3 with Dante, and I'm wondering what's the must-have AVIO adapter and what are the different options?
I go to Alex.
There are quite a few different adapters. There are 5 different AVIO adapters, plus there are 2 designed for a permanent installation. So the most useful one that I've found is the USB audio interface version, and I have a couple of these as an alternative to just using Dante Virtual Sound Card. That is pretty indispensable, does 24-bit audio, and that works really well. And then you don't have to worry about incompatibilities with operating systems in Dante Virtual Sound Card. They got Bluetooth. They've got an analog output, 2-channel analog output, 2-channel analog input, AES3 digital. And then again, I didn't know they had these. I don't know. They must be a newer product, but they've got a 2-channel analog input and output for installers. So it looks like they use the Euroblock connectors. Those are meant for more permanent installs so that people don't fiddle with them.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, Alexander, I think they released those 2 or 3 months ago. But yeah, for in terms of AVIOs, they have the analog input and analog outputs. Both are available in single channel or 2-channel. They have AES3 with both 2 channels of ins and outs. And also they have the USB versions. If you do get the USB versions, get the USB-C one because the USB-C cable is replaceable. The USB-A one does not has the cable built in. I'd say get 1 or 2 of each, and that would be like a good starter pack for like problem solvers you can keep in your case. I'd also go ahead and every single one of your computers get a license for Dante Virtual Sound Card. Don't even bother with the transferable license. Just get a license. How much is it? Like $30 or $50 US. Think compared to buying a 64 in, 64 out audio interface. $50 US is nothing. Just get a license for every single one of your computers.
Go ahead, Jason.
My very favorite use case is with the Bluetooth. To me, it is the most versatile, just beautiful piece of machinery. You plug it into an iPhone, and it is basically just the best cheat code that there is. And you can, it switches well into the different Bluetooth codecs. There are high quality, lower latency, and lower latency, higher quality, and kind of everything between. And that is the tricky part with Bluetooth. It is also just the best phone patch that there is. I have a Ubiquiti VoIP line, and it just pairs like it's a headset, and there it is, like, crystal clear, better than any Gettner I ever used, assuming it's properly gained. It's just beautiful.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, Jason just took the word out of my mouth. We used this as a phone interface when needed. So that goes into my bag all the time when we are. So of course, doing production using Bluetooth is kind of criminal or kind of out there. But in a pinch, where you need to have someone coming in through a phone that can't use Zoom or whatever we would like them to do, and the client insists on having people coming in through a phone, that the Bluetooth AVIO is a saver.
Yeah, I when Clubhouse came out, I figured I bought the Bluetooth specifically because Clubhouse wouldn't see anything other than, I think they're trying to limit people, so they wouldn't see anything other than your whatever was connected via as a headphone jack. And so you'd show up in Clubhouse, and I had, a full-on studio mic that I'm talking into Clubhouse for, and they're like, "What are you doing?"
Just like challenge accepted.
Yeah, exactly. Next question.
Nathan Cordiaca in Hamilton, Canada. How have others ensured there are no access issues when delivering a live feed via a client-provided Teams meeting or town halls? We seem to have ongoing permission issues. It might work fine for rehearsal, but then trouble when joining the show link.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, with something like this, have the organization or the client provide you with a user account within their organization's account, so that you are the one setting up the meeting, setting up all the preferences, and you are in control of that. And of course, like if there is a possibility for you to use your own organization's account, that would be much better. But at least be the one setting it up, and also have the admin's phone number on speed dial.
You go, Ronnie.
Yeah, you have to have the IT that are in charge of this account or organization on the speed dial. We do this every month, sometimes several times a month. And of course, we would like them to change to something else like Zoom or absolutely anything else would be better. But of course,
Anything
we
else?
we can't decide. And those times that we are doing this, we are testing and testing and testing and testing. And even then, in the middle of the broadcast, everything gets, so. I would like to say to you, stay away from Teams, but I also understand that it's not always possible. So follow Mickey's lead here.
If you're building an event and it's not, and I don't know of anyone that does this, that actually builds Teams events for the stuff that is not, they're not forced to because it's what the company uses. But if someone's having a discussion, you should not, under any circumstances, build an event with Teams that's external facing. If it's internal facing and your whole company's on Teams, it makes sense. Do not build an external event with Teams unless you are owned by Microsoft, because it just does not. It is a horrible experience. The login process, like if I see a Teams event, I think there was one year that CES or somebody was like, we're going to do a whole bunch of things. It's all going to be in Teams. And I was like, I won't sign in because my login, I have an Exchange login. My Microsoft login will get entangled. And so I just will not talk, the authentication procedures inside of Microsoft are so disastrous that no one in their right mind would ever connect to somebody else's event with their own Microsoft account, because it gets entangled and it gets to be really messy, and it is a disaster. So if you're in a company, if you're serving a company that does it, then that's you don't have any choice, and you'll deal with what it is. But if anyone asks you for recommendations, run, not walk, from Teams to do this. Zoom is definitely by far the best. I would say that WebEx has come up the back. As WebEx was something that we joked about 5 years ago. They've made the biggest progress of any online company as far as how, of all the services. Most of the other ones fell away. So to us, it's, Chimes disappeared. Chime was the worst. Teams was right in front of it. Go ahead, Jason.
I'm with Alex. I'm reminded of that meme. Like, one does not simply choose Teams. It is not. It's not part. Exactly. And if you have a positive experience with the client, and you find yourself back at the negotiating table for your second event, possibly, you do have to take their temperature. But I would bring it in as a value add. Like, look, we can provide this, and it'll be much better. And it won't be Teams. And even if it is Teams, it'll be our Teams. And we will avoid permissions failures like that.
There's nothing that says you're a small cog in a large machine like Office 365. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah. So first off, just in case there are variations between your rehearsal and your actual production day Teams meeting or meetings, start setting up early during the actual day of, so that you have enough time to troubleshoot and call up the IT manager or the admin to change settings if you have to. Another thing is, if this is a fully produced show, you can use other solutions that might provide a better experience and better quality than Teams to bring the contributions in, and just use Teams for the final feed broadcast out to the audience.
If what we're doing here is valuable to you, so of course, valuable to you, not to us. If it's valuable to you, there's a couple of different ways you can contribute to what we do. Of course, you can like and subscribe. You can share the channel, let other people know that we exist. You can also volunteer. Go to officehours.global/volunteer. There are many teams that keep all of this stuff working. We'd love to have you there. And also, you can donate. officehours.global/donate. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael's up next. Black Lion Audio recently reissued the Shure Level-Loc compressor, which was intended for speech but is now popular for saturation. Has anyone used it?
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I use it all the time. There is actually a plugin in the Sound Toys bundle that is it's called the Level-Loc, aptly renamed, and it's really an incredible plugin, and nothing else sounds like it. It is like a ballistic level of distortion compression. So, and the plugin, the SoundToys plugin actually has like a mix feature, which is really, really kind of the key to it for me. But yeah, it's widely used as a distortion tool. I mean, I think actually it was originally created for speakers. I mean, it was supposed to just like for panel speakers to just make sure everybody was the same and keep it all there. So.
Next question.
Rajan Chandil, Los Angeles, Rode Wireless Pro or Rode Wireless Go Gen 3? Which of those would you choose for a quick on-the-go audio with iPhone or DSLR? Curious about Deity, DJI, or other options.
Go ahead, Mickey.
So yeah, I normally wouldn't recommend any of the 2.4 gigahertz based wireless systems, but if you have to live within that budget, I'd probably take a look at the Sennheiser Profile wireless system. Sennheiser is a company that knows wireless, does a lot of creates a lot of good wireless products. So I would certainly trust Sennheiser over companies like DJI or the newcomers or Rode as well. Like Rode does make some decent microphones, but they haven't made a single wireless system that I would ever use in a production. Aside from the Sennheiser profile system, I'd probably take a look at eBay and look for the good old Sennheiser G3's EW100 series wireless, $205 for a channel. Get them secondhand. There's several of them around the 200 price range. This one's $250 for one with a plug-on transmitter. Yeah, try looking at the second-hand market for good like wireless systems that do not run on 2.4 gigahertz. They'll give you a lot more control and also the ability to scan for frequencies, set frequencies, do proper frequency coordination instead of something that just hops frequencies randomly on its own. I'd rather do that than get a brand new 2.4 gigahertz system. If you really want to live within the Rode ecosystem, I'd probably go with the Wireless Pro, just because it has timecode capabilities, however limited, but at least you can get timecode there, especially if you're doing unscripted work where you don't really have time to slate. Timecode is I think a basic necessity for productions.
Go ahead, Alex.
I agree with Mickey. I mean, the timecode feature of the Wireless Pro is really nice to be able to sync that stuff. As long as you're using this stuff not for live use, the reality is, look, there are a lot of content creators that just don't have the budget to get the good wireless stuff. So if you're going to get something that runs on 2.4, at least with internal recording, if the wireless cuts out in the middle of the production, you do have that backup recording. Now, I looked at this, the Wireless Go Gen 3 looks pretty good. They did add the 32-bit float that you could only get on the Pro model. They also added this new auto gain. It looks seems to be like some kind of AGC thing that can manage your audio levels. Again, these products are inexpensive. They're designed for people that don't understand audio, that don't understand how to do this stuff professionally. So they do have a very specific target market with these products. The other thing that they did with these products is they also came out with all these really dumb colors, because people love wearing giant box. Sorry, it's not loading on me. There we go. So you've got all these different colors because people love wearing the transmitters on their T-shirts. So Rode figured, well, I guess we might as well go all in and offer all these silly colors, which continues to be a trend that drives me crazy.
Go ahead, Bill.
And yesterday's show, Laura Davidson of Shure came in and told us about the new entry in this category from Shure. It looked really interesting. And the thing I like best about it, if you're down in this 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, is that it works directly into iPhones. So if you have an iPhone or I think Android, it'll Bluetooth directly into them, so you avoid having to have two components for that. So watch yesterday's show. She'll explain everything about it in the first 15 minutes.
We're going to squeeze one more question in for our own Liberty White. Next question.
Liberty White, on a plane, what audience interactive tools have you found successful for your in-person and virtual events?
I'll say that in Liberty, you can reach out to me if you're working on those kind of things, but Mukana has been the most successful thing that we've used in these things, and specifically this QR code. So, and what we do is when we do online or in person, we have a QR code with a short URL that goes back to the production version of this, what we use on this show, but there's a production version that's a little bit more advanced, and it basically allows us to process all those questions. We also oftentimes give the QR code for the local. If it's a hybrid, we give the QR code for the local audience one QR code, and someone else in the online a different QR code in the graphics, and that allows us to know which is coming in at what time. And we're happy to work with folks that are within office hours to make that possible. So if you're interested in that, let us know. But that I haven't really found a lot of other ones that I go to conferences and I don't interact with any of the other ones. It's really easy and it doesn't require any login. So that's the important thing there. Hopefully, everybody, we got to a fair number of questions here today. A lot of great answers, great questions. We didn't get to all the questions here. I want to thank the producers for putting in all these great questions. If we didn't get to your question and it was a QR code, it'll come back the next day. If you put in your question and it was not a QR code, it's in your notes. It's hidden in your notes inside of Mukana. So you can go ahead and bring it back in whenever you choose to bring those back in. Again, Wednesday is kind of an audio day, so you'll get a lot of audio questions here, and they tend to get voted up. And we have an incredible audio-heavy a panel here, and we really appreciate the panelists. We can't do this without you, and it's really great to have some real great specialists here to answer those questions. I also want to thank the incredible team on the back end that answers that not answers the questions, but makes all the questions possible. So there is a team that is editing, that's managing, that's processing, that's planning everything that we do every single day, 7 days a week. We don't take time off for Sundays or for Saturdays or for Fridays or for holidays. We're always here to answer questions, and it's just an incredible village that makes that possible, and we want to thank everybody for being part of that. Today, if we had done this in person, we would have traveled 29,000 miles. That's 46,000 kilometers, and that is 226 million bananas for scale. All right, let's go ahead and jump into After Hours. Bananas. So much potassium.
That's bananas.
Yeah.
Just going for that screenshot, for the email that, just be my new headshot, Alex. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Just, everyone's eating a banana.
Yeah, banana phone, you're in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, he has one banana.
All right.
He has one banana not for sale.
Thanks.
Take care, guys.